need to get the license to this song so we can play it in the
Yeah.
outro of our videos.
Just get a live performance of it from someone.
Like when Edwin Diaz runs out and they play the trumpets. We need that.
Dude, I was at a game recently over at Citi Field, and it's wild. It is wild right now. It's raucous. It's a circus in Mets land.
It is. Alrighty. You ready, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
You guys ready? Alrighty.
Sir.
Alright. Bang.
And we are live. Welcome in to the Stochastic Best Ball channel. I am Matt Savoca. We have a very special guest here. Of course, Nick Lepre is with us, as he always is, but we have Liam Murphy at Chess Liam, Best Ball Mania 2 winner in the house. So excited that you could join us, man. Welcome. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Ready to ship this thing just like you did last year. Lepre, I know you're always ready, always very excited. How are you this afternoon?
Yeah, I am so pumped, so excited. I wake up every Monday just so ecstatic to do this, so I'm pumped.
Let's draft.
Let's do it.
Wait, you went too hard there. You did it went almost to like sarcastic level where you're like, yeah, I'm really excited.
No, I wake up, I
Pumped to do
fucking
it.
dread doing this. I cry a little bit before the stream, and then we get on.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's the toughest job out there. Fantasy analysts forced into drafting in the mid afternoons. It's gonna be tough. Yo, Castic, what's up, man? Welcome into the chat. Good to see you. Good to see you, Captain Spock. Pat Lepre. I don't know who you might be related to. Brett Skinner,
Might be
what's
my
up,
dad.
man? A lot of the usuals hanging out. I'm very excited, letting people gather here, find out who our guest is today. And while we're at it, Liam, why don't you tell the people what you're about? Obviously, you won a pretty big tournament, but I've also seen you throughout the best ball and fantasy football streets this year doing the content game. Introduce yourself to the folks around here.
What's up, guys? I'm Liam. You can follow me on Twitter at ChessLiam. I do a lot of best ball drafts. I have a YouTube channel, have almost no direction for it. We have no cool music. We have no producers. It's me clicking buttons, ripping drafts. We have no plan for the NFL season once it starts. And yeah, so we'll see how that turns out. I see someone thinks this is a Gabe Davis jersey. This is actually a Stevie Johnson jersey. We got the throwback.
That's
My
sick.
only jersey I own left. I also had a Marshawn Lynch jersey back in the day. But it's pretty funny that he also wears 13 like Gabriel Davis. We were talking about that backstage.
Was that the was Stevie Johnson the first Ryan Fitzpatrick propped up receiver? Like, Stevie Johnson was not really fantasy relevant once Fitzpatrick left, and I don't know.
He had like a short career, like
Yeah.
he was very unique where like he didn't run routes designed. It was like a connection, but I remember he was like the only guy who could score on Darrelle Revis, and like he went to the Chargers probably a little too late for Phillip Rivers. I just don't think he was the same player then. And not every quarterback can jive with a guy who's going to just try to get like open. Like that's like a cerebral feel type thing.
I don't know. At the same time, like, if he's getting open, just throw him the ball. That was the Ryan Fitzpatrick approach, at least, and it worked out pretty well for at least a short time.
I have a brief
yeah.
memory. When I was a senior in college, I ran a regression analysis predicting success of wide receivers. And the dependent variable to predict them was yards and touchdowns converted to yards, and like what it used to predict it was their combine stats and their college stats. And the R squared was pretty good at 0.7. And I do remember Stevie Johnson was a guy that the model hit on. That it was high on Stevie Johnson because I think it was just like three cone drill was the only thing it cared about. But I don't even remember that. That's years past now.
I was actually going to ask you. You just went into it. Like, what were some of the prominent variables there? Because I almost wonder if it was like better at finding like the three cone. Just trying to make a logical jump there. It's probably good at finding players who are good at getting laterally open.
Yeah.
Like Stevie Johnson. Like, if you look at his highlights, that's what he was good at. He was a great route runner, and you're almost creating like a separation model and that doesn't include like what the quarterback is actually going to do. It can only tell you, can this guy get open?
Yeah, and so I mean, it was I don't know, it was like 11 years ago, or no, less than that. 20, I guess it was 2015. So about 7 years ago at this point. I need to find the article. And there's a ton of stuff I would do differently today, but it's kind of funny that I did that and then kind of navigated to football from there.
I think the people would dig that if you dug it back up. Absolutely. Okay, so before we fire up the draft, we can head into the best Ball Mania streets if you want, Nick. If you want to bring the screen on. While we wait, we typically talk about NFL news. Some just really jarring news out of Washington. Obviously, we're just honestly really happy that Brian Robinson appears to be okay, out of surgery. Bigger than football situation pretty much immediately here. They have not ruled out him playing again this season. From a football ramification standpoint, someone does still have to play running back for Washington. That will ultimately change the ADP of Antonio Gibson and JD McKissick. We don't want to be heartless about a situation that requires our empathy, but at the same time, these players need to be moved up our draft board. That's the rational response, no?
Yeah, I mean, first off, agreed. Hoping that Brian Robinson makes a swift recovery. Knee-jerk reaction, whatever, jumping into the fantasy football seems to be it's good for Gibson. But, it really would not shock. Like, I have no idea what happened to Brian Robinson. If he was shot in the ass and like it just grazed him, he could play this year. Like who knows? It's speculation at this point. He still got drafted in the drafts I've done. I think that's just like unaware people. But, I hope that he plays this year and balls out, like he was a pick I was feeling good about. And obviously just hopes that he's healthy and can play again.
One of your favorites, Nick, throughout draft season, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything seems so positive, but like I'm not a doctor. None of us are, right? It's really hard to know exactly what happened. And all of the reports don't really, like Liam said, they don't really clarify what actually happened fully.
As you would expect in this kind of situation that is certainly ongoing and changing. It's probably, I don't know, for me, just looking at it from a pure football perspective as this draft gets started, of course, another 110. We really got to work on this influencer thing because we got to get more high draft picks next year, man. I think he's probably out in my draft pool at this point, and I'll be happy to be wrong about Robinson is sort of how I'm seeing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, he went in the 17th round of the draft I did earlier today, so he's still being drafted.
Not saying anyone at that point is a wrong pick. Just
yeah, I mean, and we're about to get a ton of news with Tuesday is roster cuts, and every year people think they know how it's going to sort out, and every year there's surprise cuts, there's surprise trades. We're starting to see some of the tea leaves, like, oh, Zach Moss is on the trade block. It's like these trade block guys are probably like, and that's a reminder for the preseason too. I can hold this until after I pick, but sometimes teams are showcasing guys they want to trade,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that could be Trey Sermon. That could be Zach Moss. So like who knows what we're going to find out on Tuesday.
It could be Denzel Mims. So we're up here. Who do you guys want to pick? Liam?
I think we either need to just randomize our run. I'm cool with Cook. You guys want to do Cook?
I kind of think so. I think you look at like legendary upside for these remaining running backs in the bottom part of the first round. I think Dalvin Cook has the easiest explanation of how he gets there compared to Najee or Joe Mixon. Honestly,
yeah, and like
I would consider Kamara after Cook at this point.
We're competing with a lot of teams that have Kamara in the third, or fourth, but with like this, like how this draft fell to us, it just feels like we need to take two of these running backs. I usually have it roughly ranked: Swift, Barkley, Jones, Kamara. For like I think Kamara probably I take Kelsey a lot too. Honestly, I
Yeah,
don't really
he's
care. But between the top 5 guys, choose a name.
Okay. Who do you want then, Savoca?
You have no saying in this, Mr.
No,
Fantasy
I
Analyst
don't
down
really
there?
care. I would take Aaron
Let's do
Jones
Kelsey
personally.
then.
If you
Okay.
like Aaron Jones, let's do Aaron Jones. They
Yeah,
do play
let's
each
do
other
it.
week 17. That's a minor.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
That could be a minor negative if they're competing for the ball, but you got to tell yourself a story when you're pairing 2 players together. And I can tell a story where Aaron Jones was like, he gets balls down the field is something like he gets balls deep down the field. If we remember last year. So whatever, Aaron Jones gets a couple passing touchdowns. Dalvin Cook puts 2 in on the ground in a cold Green Bay night. Sounds plausible.
Yeah, and then Aaron Jones will put on one of those sombrero hat things that he always wears. It'll be a great night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are a bit down on Jones compared to Swift, Barkley, like Najee, like this tier. Like they don't really feel. I think it's just the presence of AJ Dillon, but
Absolutely.
I mean, Jones could be the guy who not only gets the Devontae Adams like goal line routes, like quote unquote routes where he just like sprints across the formation. Like he could do some of that, and just again the downfield wheel routes.
He might be the best receiving option for that team. I mean, they want Lazard to be a thing more than he has been. They want Sammy Watkins to be a thing. They certainly want these rookies to be impactful, but we don't know. We don't know anything. We know Aaron Jones, especially when Devontae Adams is off the field, has been had a pretty guaranteed workload in the receiving game. So I think the floor is really high there. The ceiling, it really kind of seems like something would have to happen to AJ Dillon to kind of explain the ceiling for him. But
From a season long perspective, I agree with you. But an individual spike week, I don't think that's the case. Like why can't Jones hit 25 points at 6 games, even with a healthy Dillon? Because they could just ping pong,
Yeah.
or just whatever. And like I think that's something that people don't think about as much in best ball is like how high is a player's ceiling? How often do they hit it? And Jones to me is just like the only certain bet on a team that should be good. Like unless wheels really fall off in Green Bay, because all the pass catchers, like I generally just play it cheap and I take shares of all of them, but
Sure.
none of them I'm like, I don't have a strong lean,
Well, I'm getting a little worried that the wheels do fall off in Green Bay. Like
That could happen.
The Vikings did a lot of good things. Their new coach, their new offensive philosophy seems much more modern, passing inclined, defense possibly improving there. It is a 2-horse race, which makes it easier for a team like Green Bay to stay relevant. But
I think the Lions could surprise.
Getting that
Not
Hard
on
Knocks
defense
boost like they do like the team does every year.
I don't know, man. Like every piece but quarterback there is like wheels up.
We've been playing that thought experiment all year long. Like, what if they had an elite quarterback on that roster? We'd be going nuts in the fantasy streets. We'd be drafting them even higher.
Like if you squint your eyes, doesn't it look like the Rams team when Todd Gurley was there and they made the Super Bowl?
If that is the thing you need like the huge Lions staff.
Well, like all those
I
players,
guess Alex
like
Baker's Rainmaker's going well then. What'd you say, sorry, Liam?
Like all those players kind of like comp to that team where it's like Amon-Ra. I like ETN, Davis, or DJ Moore.
All right. I like DJ Moore the most. What do you say, Savoca?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's do it. I would have taken Gabe Davis, especially with the 13 jersey, even though it's not technically the same.
All right,
number 13. Solidarity.
Let's do Gabe Davis.
We got to do it for the 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do Gabe Davis. I like Gabe Davis a lot. It's just I think DJ Moore now with the better quarterback in Baker, I just feel way more comfortable with DJ Moore, and he's bound to score more than 4 touchdowns, right? He scored 4 touchdowns every year of his career.
Yeah, I like DJ a lot. It's just I don't know. I like Gabe Davis's floor is probably 10 touchdowns, and if those touchdowns are not there, That's tough. And like you're trying to sort out the tea leaves. We're trying to be the top of 451,000 people. When you're wearing the 13, the new Stevie Johnson, you got to
go for it. I think us pushing Gabe Davis into the T. Higgins, Jamar Chase comparison for Diggs and Davis just makes sense. So
I like Marquise Brown. He's the guy I usually hammer here, but I would go ETN too.
Okay. I don't have a lot of either of those guys. What do you say, Savoca?
I'm on Team Hollywood if we're doing either, or I really am worried about Travis Etienne this year.
Let's do Hollywood, and I'll give the he's a guy I'm just loading up on. Should be strong to start the season. Not really why I'm high on him. The Falcons or the Cardinals play the Falcons week 17. It's plausible that Hopkins has hit the age cliff, but he was like slowing down last year, right? And you talk about a guy who could spike and give you that like 30-point week. Marquise Brown could, and Kyler excels at throwing the deep ball, and that's what Marquise Brown does. They're college teammates. Like Lamar Jackson is good at football, but I just think the way it's set up with Kyler, not to mention it really easily sets up the stack with Kyler to Hollywood, which is like the nuts. And I don't know, everyone wants to make Rondale Moore a thing. I like Rondale too, but he could just not be a thing, and it could be like Marquise both getting some slants and just deep bomb after deep bomb.
Yeah.
You don't make a move like the Cardinals did for Marquise Brown if you believe Rondale is the truth, right? And I'm not saying he's a bad player, but if you think as highly of him as the Ravens clearly did Rashad Bateman, then you don't make a move for Marquise Brown. So in my opinion, I think that's the right way to read it, especially with old, reliable Zach Ertz, who got paid once again. I think people are underestimating his chances of getting 6 to 7 targets in a pretty up-tempo, pass-happy offense. So one more reason to hopefully see if we can get Kyler on the wraparound. Awesome, yo, I swear. I see you in here. What are you, yo-castic now in the chat? I know you're in there.
I think we push it. I think we can get it in the 6. Like Kyler's been with the casual crowd. I think Kyler is. I guess I'm learning. Like the casuals do not like him. Like Hurts has flipped Kyler. That was kind of surprising to me. I like Hurts, but I'm just kind of surprised he flipped Kyler. And can you look at the board real quick? Who does that guy have? James Conner on our inside track. One dude does.
Yes, he does.
Like that's a wild card. When anytime someone starts 4 running backs, I just feel like he either really wants an elite quarterback or does not want it. Like I'm confident this Brett Boy guy would not take Kyler, but I have literally no clue what good Juju would do. So let's look at the players because there's some guys we're getting a falling Brees who is repeatedly falling to this area. I am buying the injury dip on Darren Waller too.
Yep.
You think it's an injury? You don't think he's like trying to hold out?
That's what they're saying. It's like a hamstring. Like he came back to practice hamstring. So I would like to take Brees or Waller, and just I think we should just take Brees, man.
I think so too.
All right, we'll go with Brees.
He plays the Jets week 17. The Jets have like invested in that O-line. And hopefully we can get Kyler, but if not, there's some other pieces that look good for our team, I would say.
What do you think of this tier right below at the quarterback position where it's like Trey Lance, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, where the perception is that those players have a higher chance of QB1 overall in their range of outcomes? I'm starting to come around with that tier more and more. Like Trey Lance's ceiling outcome is crazy, even if he's like just a halfway decent passer. And I still think Tom Brady is underrated.
Yeah, I mean Tom Brady did not look well in his press conference. Let's take Kyler here.
That's true. Let's do it.
I mean, Brady probably just got some facial surgery done in the those last couple of weeks.
I have no idea, man. But like like, and that's the only clip I saw. I'm sure like he had a much more normal interview than that one sound bit, but I have a ton of Lance when he was cheaper. I have shares of all the other guys too. Tampa's hard because like Tampa could just do it again, or I don't know, Brady could like retire mid-season. It seems like it's all on the cards for them. I mean, I definitely take all the pass catchers from Tampa, but it was interesting where this group of guys that you mentioned, Matt, has been pulled up this year correctly, in my opinion. In years past, all those guys were in the 10th round, where like Matt Stafford has fallen back into that group with the injury news or whatever it's going on there. But you know, like last year seems like the people learned, and because last year the Nuts was just taking like Brady, Stafford, Rodgers, you know, Brady, like Hurts, you know, like all those guys were 10th rounders. And now they've all been pulled up a little bit, which is correct for a half-point PPR site where quarterbacks just contribute a higher percentage of points each week. So I double tap elite quarterbacks sometimes with us having Kyler, with just like the logic. It's a good way to basically get a team to the finals, like advance in the playoff rounds. But with Kyler, we can do anything. Like we can push it.
I also like the value of not spending ultra premium draft capital on quarterback, but enough draft capital on the first two so that I feel guilt-free about leaving it as a 2 QB build. You know, we've had some decent content this year, including our own Stochastics Alex Baker talking about the value of a late round third quarterback helping you. And so I'm certainly not against that, but I often like, especially in these top heavy tournaments, having that extra roster spot for a final flex play.
Yeah, I mean, and just thinking through how my team won it last year, it effectively was a one quarterback build where Justin Fields contributed like 0 points and Josh Allen was just the guy every week. And the only reason I won that tournament, is because I hit on my late round guys. That's where I found Rashad Penny, Amon-Ra. So I'm inclined with us having Kyler to never go 3 QB. Maybe in like a total point sense, I get what Alex is saying, but for playoff reasoning, like where the first two groups are just not big enough to care about it, and I don't know, it's just like we're betting that Kyler's the nuts against the Falcons, which seems like a solid bet to me. And we can pair him with the interest, you know, we could go Kirk Cousins to Cook. We can go Rodgers to Aaron Jones. Like we can grab like the tail end of the elite tier there if we want to have another quarterback that can easily see 25 plus points.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question to you, Liam. We talked about Alvin Kamara earlier and how you were nervous to draft him, technically because he was going much later. What do you think about Dameon Pierce now as a 7th round pick? Are you just off of him now?
You know, that's my knee jerk with any player where I have I love Schultz here. I think we should go Schultz. I know some people do not like him.
No, we're all the way in on Schultz over here. No objections.
That's an easy pick. I love Schultz this year.
Yeah, especially 11 picks past ADP. So my knee jerk with many things is when a player rises a lot, if I have earlier shares, is to like lightly fade them. But it really all, you know, it's all unique cases. I did take some Dameon Pierce in some higher stakes drafts recently to kind of like smooth it out. I have a lot more Dameon Pierce on Underdog than some of the PPR sites. And I think it's totally fine to take, like, I don't think he's adjusted enough yet on Underdog where I think it's totally fine to keep taking him. And, you know, it just like, whatever, if Dameon Pierce is the guy you need to win tournaments, it's not that big a deal. You're just saying that, okay, 7th round player plus 11th round player where Dameon Pierce used to go, like you need to hit an 11th round player that is outscoring the 7th round, basically, is how I think about that 2v2, or whoever you take that's rising. And you can take some fallers to make it like you can tastefully take risers, I like to say, by mixing in some guys who have fallen throughout the offseason.
Brett is in the chat, so he is quite disappointed that we took Schultz, but it is what it is, right?
I mean, he's just like the tail end of the elite tight ends where he could just be the 2 there. Okay. Can we see the wide receivers?
Yeah.
I like MBS.
Yeah, so do I. MVS
Out
is
of
like
concussion
my highest
protocol,
owned
ready
players.
for week 1. They announced, so all systems go. Yep.
I think we just
Right.
we need to bet he's the second there, and like our 3 wide receivers, they're like 3 guys who have massive ceilings, with 3 good running backs, and an elite tight end and an elite quarterback. So we're really flexible to do anything here. I would say we're probably doing 5 running backs. We could stop at 4 if we want to. I generally like adding the 5th running back bullet just for playoff reasons, where it gives you just an extra bullet to have a guy that separates from your playoff grouping, and the finals where you're playing 460 people. But we also have a pretty unique build. Like we got a falling Brees. I think he's just naturally like gonna shift to this ADP. What do you guys think about the squad?
It's funny because the beat writers for the Jets have been saying, people are asking him straight up, when do you think Brees Hall takes over this backfield? And they're all saying, oh, it'll happen eventually. So it might not be the very best week 1 play, but we're trying to win the damn thing. So I'm happy to take all the Brees Hall. Michael Carter has been one of my do not draft players. I just think it's like a no ceiling pick, unless something happens injury wise. I guess there are ways that it happens. For me, I love 4 RB builds just because I feel like seeing if I can snag spike weeks from late round wide receivers has been something I've been successful with in the past, but it is kind of dart throws at this point. And everybody really interesting is getting propped up to like that 10th through 12th round they used to be able to get in like the 17th, 18th earlier in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, you can more reliably hit on the wide receiver darts, and you're less likely to find a ceiling performance like in the current draft landscape. I would say there's still some guys, but 2 years ago you could take Chase Claypool, T. Higgins with your last round picks. That's not really the draft landscape of today. On the flip side, though, taking some late round running backs that are handcuffs is always a plus EV tournament strategy where you can just hit on guys that are giving you 20 points per game for free, and it just allows you to be like different. So like we want our 3 top running backs to be the guys, but we almost want we want like a handcuff.
We want to benefit from uncertainty. Yeah.
Yeah. We want a handcuff to help. Like maybe Brees is not the guy week 15, 16, and he's only the guy week 17. Like, we want like a lower owned guy to help us advance some guy and hopefully make him low owned or something. Is why I usually I build 4 running back teams. But it's why I sometimes slack on a 5th there, but it really depends who's available,
Do you ever do 3 running back builds? Because I see those all the time, and I feel like, I don't know, I just can't do it normally. I have to get at least 4.
Really pushing it, yeah.
I've done some, but again, generally I don't like it because I really like to think about the playoff rounds and how do you advance a team to the finals and how does a team do well in the finals, and ask yourself if you reach the finals, what you would want your roster construction to be. And I don't know, 5 running backs sounds like a pretty nice number to both have a, because think about it. Everyone gets pretty high owned in these finals groups if they do well. So you want positions to have leverage on the field, basically, is what I'm trying to say, right? So Noah Fant for me was 3% owned or something crazy in the finals, right? So it's why I sometimes do 3 tight end builds too, is you just strictly week 17, getting a high leverage position to the finals rather than thinking how do you score the most points every week.
Yeah, in a perfect world, right? It's the people who got you to the finals are not the people that carry you to the finals win. So in that regard, your late round picks that become very important because they're going to be in one of those 2 groups, either the week before the finals or that finals group. Let's see what we got. We've got some.
I think we should take Burks.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about him? I'm still on Burks.
Yeah, I'm still in. This is exactly what happened with Chase last year.
I don't think it's the same thing because I don't think Burks is that type of prospect. And
that's fair.
But I don't know. There's a possibility 10 weeks from now we zoom out and we're Burks was competing against who? And we were afraid. Like those are not some inspiring pass catchers on the Titans. And he just caught a touchdown in the preseason. Like everyone gets a bump after that.
Absolutely
I
fine with
mean,
it.
it's not like Nick Westbrook Ikain is in reality going to stop Treylon Burks, right?
Yeah, and like Kyle Phillips gets a lot of buzz, but how much slot are they even going to play? And like who knows? So I think we should definitely take another running back here.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm okay missing out on Ertz. Like I like Ertz more on PPR sites than Underdog. Just a bit lower of a touchdown floor. And I would be between Hunt and Cook here, or Jacobs.
Okay.
We're like, what, 30 picks below ADP for Jacobs? We're still like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
it.
world where Jacobs scores 15 touchdowns, like.
Yeah, I feel like at this value, we should just take him.
Let's just do it. Yeah, I mean, in general, too, if you're doing a volume of drafts, you should just scoop value. Like Jacobs at 111, that should not be a thing. What pick was that?
Yeah.
Pick the 10th round. Yeah.
10-03.
So he's like a 0 RB target now, which is like, you could like build 0 RB teams last week with like Gibson and Jacobs as your 1 and 2.
It's very funny how different the ADP is on Underdog compared to like your regular fantasy draft. Because like I'm doing drafts and Gibson goes in like the 5th round with Jacobs, and then Underdog or any of these other best ball sites, they're like 10th round picks. It's very funny.
The sharpest ADP. I mean, obviously people are doing some weird things in these tournaments when they're multi-entering, but this Underdog ADP this year is probably the sharpest ADP in industry history.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just think the landscape is a lot sharper than years past in many ways. With us getting a falling Jacobs, it depends what the room does. Like if the room passes on running back again, where like I don't know, let's just say Kareem Hunt made it back to us. I know he got drafted. I'd be inclined to scoop him because we have to also remember like we're not trying to help anyone else build like a super team. Where if someone's pointing us on wide receiver, and like we don't want to like also give them a good running back. Like we want them to like suffer for that thing as well, to protect like not only this team but like our portfolio. Like refuse to let a winner be drafted with me against me.
Yeah.
That would be the worst feeling to know that you were the person in the draft where the person won.
Well, and it's like I think my common thought going into these drafts is like you kind of need to like draft with bad players. But I looked at that room I did last year and I recognized some of those names. Like it was a pretty sharp draft group, which makes sense too, where it's like people just not doing random stuff or like just spite picking or whatever. Like,
that could be
they're
really
not just
tough.
taking naked. Like you can get a quarterback like around past ADP if everyone understands. Like I'm not incentivized to take a naked Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Can we see the players?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was watching your DraftKings thing from earlier, and it's just so crazy that people just enter a $2,000 contest and just auto draft. That's like insane to me.
I mean, to me as well, and like in some ways, I get it for higher stakes, smaller fields where, oh damn, I wanted Gallup.
Yep, that was the one. Oh man,
I say we go Dotson.
Yeah, I like Dotson.
I'm a general buyer
these are the
of
exact type of players who, a couple years ago, hanging out in the 17th, 18th round. Situation was bad enough, even though they have first round or early second round draft capital. Now, we're not helping things, but the room is too sharp.
Yeah, and I mean, he was kind of like that earlier in the offseason where like, like Twitter people and thus like the industry decide they know better than NFL teams. That like happened to Kadarius Toney last year. But and I like Curtis Samuel quite a bit too. And Dotson's kind of nice because it sets up a late stack. We have a late stack option with Burks as well.
Yep. Actually, Curtis Samuel, I literally just thought of this. He's been used as a hybrid option. He might be used out of the backfield more now with the changing.
Well, he was
landscape.
Deebo Samuel before Deebo was.
Yeah.
Like the year before Deebo, So it's between McKenzie and Parker for me, and like
Okay.
I don't know, like arguably McKenzie has higher ceiling spike
That's
weeks,
mine pick. Yeah.
but Parker might reach like 20 points quite a bit if he's just like the one and they actually score in the air. So I'm cool with the Bills though. Let's go. We don't have any Miami pieces
Man,
really.
that press coming out of New England is weird on that offense. Just like how much they've struggled, how it looks like Mac Jones looks lost. It's probably nothing, but I'd rather just
I don't like everything in New England gets amplified, and I like Mac Jones. My knee jerk reaction to him is like I thought he's a good football player, and I feel like he could be like a Kirk Cousins level type player if like the support is there, but he could also be trash. And like I don't know, he scored like 240 points, so it's hard there. But
I was listening, I think, on a PFF podcast where they're talking about how, if you're just looking at like career trajectories, if you have that level of baseline competency as a rookie quarterback, your ceiling is also really high. And it just feels like the more we've heard negative out of camp, it just feels like that ceiling outcome is fading away, even if the floor is there. So I don't know. I've been super uninclined to draft Patriots receiving options, as has the rest of the industry.
Nikki, let me ask you something. How are you feeling about the Dolphins defense? Like, I think you guys are really good on D, but where would the Patriots attack the Dolphins week 17? Would they do it on the ground? Would they attack the linebackers? Would they avoid the corners because you guys are good in the secondary? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, I think the Dolphins are going to be destroying them. So when they're going to have to throw the ball. But in reality, actually, I think that they're going to try to run a lot on the Dolphins. The Dolphins' run defense has been the worst part of our defense by far, right? We see in a lot of these games where the Dolphins are getting destroyed, it's not really because of the fact that Xavier Howard's getting cooked by one of the best receivers in the league, right? It's because the run defense just isn't very good. Now they've brought in a bunch of new players, so maybe that does change, but I really do think that in that Week 17 game, we are going to see a hefty amount of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson early on. And I think the defense is going to struggle against Hunter Henry if Hunter Henry continues to be the red zone threat that he was last year.
Yeah, that's a weird game where like it could be 17-13, It could be 30-25. I don't because like the other thing that could help New England's offense is I think their secondary is bad other than their safeties, like their corners specifically. Like I thought Malcolm Butler was the favorite to be the one, and he got cut.
He's gone.
Neil, I did not hate on Mac Jones. I said he could be Kirk Cousins. That's a positive.
That's hating. That's hating. Neil's a Vikings fan. That's hating right there.
Kirk Cousins is a good football asset and fantasy football asset. But yeah, I think what you said is the chalk is like they try to run on them. I don't know. Let's see these picks.
Miami's
here.
17th in rush DVOA last year.
I mean, the only other option would be to throw to the other receiver that isn't covered by X or Byron because our other corner depth is fucking atrocious. Like Noah, the guy we drafted, he is legitimately terrible. Like I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if we didn't cut him. Like we should cut him. He's so bad.
Can you scroll down to our roster so I can see what wideouts we have?
Yeah, we have Gabe Davis, Hollywood Brown, MVS, Burks, Dotson, McKenzie.
Okay.
Got some youth on this team.
Eventually, we're going to need another quarterback. Doesn't have to be now. But.
I think we wait on QB.
Go Tannehill or Carson Wentz.
Or whoever. Like I think there's some unique. Okay, I wanted Irv. Can we click on tight end?
Yeah, Henry and Njoku.
Can you star Njoku? So I think he's a ceiling guy. Can you click wide receiver real quick? Yeah. Let's take Osborne.
That's mine.
Yeah, I was going to say because we have that run back with Aaron Jones.
Yeah, let's take Osborne.
Do you think that
he scored 7 touchdowns last year?
Do you see that meme he posted? It wasn't actually a meme. It was like he commissioned
like an actual
artwork.
Post.
Yeah, with him, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. Like, yeah, it's like it's on in 3 receiver sets, or so KJ Osborne thinks.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes a lot of sense with them bringing the Rams system. I generally like to have some positive correlation where Cook and Osborne on the team together is some positive correlation that people wouldn't think about, like the running back, wide receiver, same team, both from a season long perspective and occasionally in the same game. And I mean, with this group of 7 wideouts, we could stop at 7. We could. We don't need to, but we could. We'll probably add an 8th.
Take like an extra quarterback.
I think we should go Njoku.
Yeah. Are you fine drafting Njoku because they have the same bye week? Do you just not care?
I don't care about the bye week.
Okay.
To me, like the tight end, I like tight ends. Like what Njoku and Schultz both have in common is they're both drawing live to be the 2 in their offense. Njoku also is like a downfield target more so than other tight ends, which should naturally lead to touchdowns. I mean, he's like the highest paid tight end in football, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, and he also has like a potential to be like the number 2 target on that team behind Cooper.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I like to take tight ends who could be the 2 in their offense. So we have 4 more picks. I would say 1 more quarterback, 1 more tight end, 1 more running back, 1 more wide receiver is probably how I would play it. Just take a dart at whoever running back we want as like a contingent value guy, basically, where like ideally a guy we don't want to like. I think we should save our running back for the last pick. Where there's like a bunch of names I can convince myself like this could be the guy.
Yeah.
Unless there's someone who you guys feel real good about. If it becomes our pick.
Yeah, if there's somebody, we'll clamor if there's something. But I also like the tight ends around this range. It feels weird to say because the expectation from a points per game standpoint is exactly the same for a 15th round tight end as it is for an 18th round tight end. But I actually think it starts to really dry up with so many people employing like the triple late tight end strategy that I would rather start the run earlier and go elsewhere later in the draft.
Yeah, tight end's a position where I usually either go like elite or lately I've been hitting a bunch late. There's a bunch of guys I can convince myself have a ceiling. I see Neil in the chat talking a little bit about a guy I like. But Neil, something I didn't tell you when we did our pod together is it's rarely big time amateur move to be talking about the guys you want before you're on the clock, so. But I do like Taysom, like I know not everyone is. He could just get there so many ways. But there's other tight ends I like too, and some that even may work for us.
Nick, I know you're a big Tanyan guy. Did he go already? Yeah,
he already got picked. Yeah.
Fant was a guy I was taking a bit. I'm cooling a little bit on. Ingram, it's hard to like see the ceiling in half point PPR. I like him a bit more in PPR. Can we see quarterback?
I'm kind of interested in Hooper, and then we could maybe grab Tannehill.
I hate Hooper, man. I don't know what it is about. Okay. How about wide receiver?
Sammy Watkins.
I think we should take a wide receiver here.
Okay.
And I think we should either go with the Lizard King and take Watkins and add another piece to that Green Bay Minnesota game. Or
I think
we should go Curtis Samuel and go for like a super stack with Wentz. But I like the Lizard King.
Okay. I'm good with Watkins. You good with that, Savoca?
Oh, yeah. I think he's like a low probability, but possible leader of that team in targets.
Very high upside pick we just made. Like he could for sure beat out Lazard, Yeah.
I'm still a bit of a... You can go, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm still much of a Randall Cobb truther in the 18th round.
So gross. Like, I think he could do it to me. I agree. Like, I understand it. He could do it, but it's a gross thing here. Why do you like Hooper so much?
Just in the sense that the Tennessee Titans tend to consolidate their expected fantasy points to 2 or 3 players every year. And
Yeah.
it's a possibility that he ends up in that big 3 for them. Now, of course, Henry is like a huge chunk of that pie, but
I think we should take McKinnon.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
Let's take McKinnon, but there's like a ton of tight ends I like left. So let's go McKinnon here, and then we'll end with tight end quarterback. Sorry, go back to Hooper. I just wanted to make our pick.
No, all good. I just one thing that the Titans are notorious for is using their secondary and tertiary tight ends creatively at the goal line, which can just destroy you when they throw to the
For
tight
me,
end.
like maybe I'm being a fish and I'm like playing into recency bias, but like I don't know. People tried to convince them Ferkser was a thing last year. He wasn't. Hooper is like not that athletic. Where I mean, he wasn't a guy with Atlanta really ever. Like people were excited about him, and he just wasn't really. Or I'm sorry, on the Browns. He wasn't a guy on the Browns, and like that didn't really make sense why he didn't kind of emerge there. And there's other tight ends I just think have higher. I personally like more for ceilings, but like that's what's so great about the tight end position is it's it's what you want to see, because like I agree with you. Hooper could be the 2 there, right? He could be the 3. I have a team or so. Oh, Sony just got cut.
He got cut.
Yeah, that's so sad.
He's gonna get picked up by someone, right? Could go back to the Rams.
I just don't understand why they cut him. Like he does something so different than all these running backs. Like everyone we have is just fast. Like that's cool.
Well, because
Sony's
you
bigger.
you can find Sony Michel's off the street week 4 if you need that.
I bet Myles Gaskin is as good as being a bruiser as Sony Michel is right now.
Myles Gaskin is good, man. If he got signed in the right situation, like look, he's maybe not that good, but like he's good for fantasy. I wasn't ready to say Myles Gaskin was dead. I wanted him to get cut, but I've not been clicking the button. Like to be clear, I have a team or 2 with some Myles Gaskin.
Mm-hmm. We're still talking about a third running back on a team where we're not sure if they're going to enter the upper echelon in terms of fantasy scoring. We're hoping they do, but we don't know that. It's not one of the lock teams.
Yeah, I see Neil here saying I have 0 Gaskin shares. Like I have like 1 team and I'm like 100% the field. Like you only need 1 share of Myles Gaskin. Yeah, I mean, like the tight end position I find is so interesting because you have to start one every week, right? So that's like 1/8 of your roster. Everyone every year thinks they can find the late round guys or they like a couple late round guys. And look, I agree. There are some late round guys I kind of like, but usually we're wrong. And usually all these guys are giving us like 5 points a week and we're getting lapped by the field. Are you guys buying this Noah Fant's just a blocker?
No, Noah Fant's not a blocker. Come on.
See, I think the argument for Noah Fant is Jimmy G shows up and the checkdowns and dump offs game is on. I think that's how you make.
Or Gino could just be doing. Gino could just be the, a check down guy.
That team could be bad if they don't make a move for Jimmy.
I've been drafting a little Gino. He just doesn't have that high of a ceiling.
This picker.
I think we should take Logan Thomas.
And then just go Wentz.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, the order doesn't. If you want to grab Wentz now and not stress missing him, you can do that too. But whatever. I say we take Logan and then like Logan or Wentz.
So you think Logan's gonna be good for week 1?
I don't care if he's good for week 1. I was shocked that he was activated off a pup and looks like he might be ready for week 1. Logan Thomas goes. So
there you go.
He's a guy I've just been taking a lot lately. I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to like give you 10, 12 points per game PPR. I don't know, maybe 15.
Bellinger
I think we should just take.
I like, but I think we don't have to take your tight end anymore.
I think we should. I think we should take Fant or Jordan or Brait or Conklin or Dulcich or Smith or Bellinger. Literally any of the top names.
Yeah, I don't
Probably
have any
Fant though probably Fant for uniqueness purposes, and gives us some correlation with Breece Hall week 17.
That makes sense.
I dig it. And that's it for our picks, but let's check out the draft board too as we round out the final picks here, Nick.
All right.
Yeah, I like our team a lot. I build a lot of
So do
teams
I.
this way. Like, I think we have 8 high upside wide receivers, 3 high upside tight ends, and like a guy we're consistently counting on to like get us 10-ish points with Schultz. 6 solid running backs, or 5 solid running backs, and a stud quarterback. And then Wentz, who, like, I didn't think there was any risk of him getting benched this year because Sam Howell got drafted so late, but there's been some buzz recently about how that makes me a little bit more nervous. But I'm generally okay being weakest at quarterback too when I have an elite quarterback. Like, basically, it's like if Murray's not the guy, we probably weren't going to do that good anyways.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
The chances that we hit on the quarterback 2 that is the league winner are low enough where we're not playing it that way. I mean, it would be nice, but we're just building the positive correlation game.
Yeah, and Wentz should have like a 17 points per game. And he gives you a little bit on the ground, you know. He's kind of like Daniel Jones that way.
Do you like Daniel Jones?
You know, not as much as like maybe again, it's just like I drafted him every year, but it seems like he could get benched. He's a bit more expensive than the other guys who I like just as much. So I take him when I have Giants pieces.
Gotcha.
That Giant stack is a favorite of our last week. Yes, Ryan Patney. I always get his last name wrong. Rinpack, Stochastics Rinpack. Yeah, this might be my favorite team that we've drafted this year. It's definitely the Cheslium influence for sure. How do you think we did, man?
I think we crushed it, man. Like, we have 4 what could be stud running backs plus a 5th guy who could be the highest scoring running back on the Chiefs or just give you spike weeks. Like, I think our wide receiver group, you know, like really high upside group of players, ton of touchdowns I see between these guys. You know, Burks, maybe it takes him a little bit. Dotson's a guy who should be in 2 wide receiver sets to start the year. And then our tight end group is like real fun. Like we just scooped value at a lot of spots this draft. Like, which again, if you're doing volumes of drafts, you generally want to be scooping the value. Like, and scooping players I like. Like, we scooped Schultz. Fant, like last year, Fant gave you like 3 to 4 spike weeks. That's what some running backs give you in like the 10th round. You know, like if you're getting like a 15, 20 point game from Fant at the tight end position, like you're really separating from your fellow league mates and then playoff groupings potentially. And you know, the guy won me $1 million, so gotta check him back on the team.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to him doing his work. And the fact that Njoku has, you know, Deshaun Watson returning as well, sort of increasing the upside when you most want those upside weeks.
I think, like, I'm still not 100. Like, Watson's just an idiot and like also shooting himself in the foot, like PR wise. So it would not shock me if he got additional time. Like, I don't think that's. I think the consensus is it is what it is, but I don't know. He just seems real dumb.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't show up to his like things he has to go to, he will get it fine, or he'll be out for the season if he doesn't show up to those things.
I didn't even white guy blinking gif. I didn't even realize that was in the range of outcomes. You guys are absolutely right. Just wow, Brissett could be starting the whole year there. Wow, that was really fun. Liam, thank you so much for joining us today. Nick, thank you a little bit for joining us today, as always.
I mean, we each just won $1 million, guys. Because I would say this team, you know, a fun twist about Underdog is that there is a prize for the season long.
Yeah.
Where if you have the highest scoring team in the regular season, and I would say the way we built this team, where we have 4 running backs that we're confident are like RB1s to start the year. Like that's how you build a team that can also contend for the regular season prize. So we chalk up that million we in week whatever 14, and then we come back week 17, we win 2 million more. We each got $1 million. We're each happy. We do it again next year. You know, I love this, guys.
This is
Thanks
gonna
for
be
having
great.
me on.
Start very fruitful endeavor indeed. Well, thanks so much for joining us, man. Where can the people find you on these Twitter streets and in the content streets as well?
Yeah, just at Chess Liam on Twitter. My YouTube, I kind of fire by the seat of my pants. Rarely scheduled. Just kind of throw drafts at the wall. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, but thrilled to have you. Nick, where can the people find you?
Find me on Twitter. You can't even see it on the screen because the ad's blocking it. At Notorious FNTSY. I really appreciate you coming on, Liam. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone enjoyed this stream. This is our final stream, correct? On Underdog?
Our final Underdog live draft of the year. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. We're still doing drafts all the time. We got more on the Best Ball channel, just last on Underdog as well. Yeah, the guys, this was a lot of fun. Thank you to you all hanging out in chat as well. He's Nick. He's Liam as well. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Matt. You can follow me at Draftaholic. Until next time, it's Stochastic Best Ball. We'll see you guys later.
Adios.